Hi, I'm Tim Pennington, editor in chief of finishingandcoding.com. I'm with Jessica Famiglia Young and her husband Mike Young, who are owners of Vegas Metal Finishing, which is we can say it, a brand new facility, basically about 2 years old, in the Las Vegas area, of course. And welcome. Thanks for taking time out to talk to me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Yes. So, tell us first of all your facility, what you all have there, what you offer your customers. I think it's what types of anodizing that you do, and all that people can expect.
Well, we have a FFL. We hold an FFL, or Federal Firearms License, so we are able to anodize firearms. But we offer Type 2 and Type 3, and I would say anything that we can fit in our tanks, we'll anodize for you. And our system was built by Ronatech, so it's a closed loop system to where we have the ECOP tank and nothing goes to green, and so it's an environmentally friendly system.
Right.
And apart from Type 2 and Type 3, we also offer a wide variety of colors, but that's our main line is black.
Your line's black with that. Okay, yeah, because this started out of kind of a branch of a different company that you owned, correct? It's a firearm company, correct?
Correct.
Right.
New Frontier Armory was in need of quality anodizing. We were just having a hard time sending it to places and getting it back where it was consistent. And then when we did get it back after like longer lead times, we'd then have to ship it back out of state, bring it back in, and it created kind of a bottleneck in our process. So the idea was to create our own anodizing line, and then we quickly realized, I guess, that we don't just anodize firearms, obviously, and there's not just our company that makes firearms. So it became a whole separate entity, separate LLC, separate company that now not only does our own for New Frontier, but does lots of other firearm companies, as well as other industries between, automotive and I don't know, off the top of my head, you probably know better than I do, but
yeah, I mean, we've seen come through our doors. We see everything from high-end sports car components, off-road components, bicycle components, mountain bike components. We obviously do a large variety of firearm parts, climbing gear, carabiners. It all depends on what a customer is looking for and what we can supply them with. Really.
I've often heard, I was going to say, I've often heard from people who do firearms anodizing is that it's a tough gig because your customers are they look at these firearms so closely. I mean, they want perfection. It's not like it's going to be a part in somewhere else. It is something that they stare at, and it's like 12 inches from their face.
Well, I think that's one of the hard things that we deal with is that there is such a small margin of error, and they do want perfection. A lot of people see parts that are Cerakoted, and they believe that that's something they can attain through the anodizing process. And it's really an art and it's a science to try to dial in those color matching techniques and whatnot. And so it really, like I said, it really is an art to try to get perfection or near perfection from those finishes.
And there's a big difference, like you were saying. We have customers who are, like you said, the firearms, and we're looking at every little part of it before we, when we QC it and send it out the door, because we know just from me having a firearms company, how even when I sell my parts, I don't want to sell it to a customer because I know how they're going to use it. So I like to make sure that the quality is there. But then there's other customers of ours that it's literally a component part that's going inside of another part that's going inside of another part, and it's never going to be seen by anybody, and they don't care. Like, here you go, take your parts. As long as it's hardened and I know that it's going to stand up to the durability and all that stuff, they don't care. So it's that fine thing of being like, well, these people don't care, but these people really care.
Really do care, right? So I guess I have to ask, now that you're doing it yourself, you have a little bit more respect for the finishers that you were sending the work out to get it done. Right, and I'm sure you found out too that
touch on one part is that although there are different components and they're used, they may be seen unseen. We will treat all of our products the same coming off the line, so it doesn't matter if it's a high-end polished part that comes off or something, a component that's going to be, a brake component or that you're not going to see, everything is treated and cared for the same. So people can expect the same quality, whether it's sitting on your desk, polished piece, or if it's sitting behind your brake, on part of your brakes. So that's something that we try to maintain through our entire process, is that everyone will have a highly
quality part.
Yeah, high quality part, absolutely.
Right. And so, Jessica, I know that you're sort of the accidental anodizer here. This really wasn't your game plan to be running the shop. I know, this was your late husband's plan to do this, and his passing. And I guess it's not every little girl's dream to grow up and run an anodizing operation, and with chemicals and things like that. But I mean, how much did you know about the process? Because with firearms, I'm sure you all saw what a good product looked like, but how much did you all know about it before you started this up?
Nothing.
Right.
So I wasn't involved in New Frontier before Dave passed either. So I mean, I quite frankly was in real estate for a lot of years of my adult life. So when I took over New Frontier, that's, I learned a little bit about okay, so the aluminum comes off of our CNC machines like this, and then it's very like pliable, whatever word I'm looking for. Malleable. There you go.
Right.
And so I just do this process, and it hardens the aluminum, and then there's two different types of this process. One is actually to harden it. One is more cosmetic, and I learned a little bit about it on the New Frontier side. But when I kind of got thrust into this position, Vegas Metal Finishing had an LLC established. But that's about it.
That's about it. Right.
I think they built a berm around the warehouse floor to house the tanks.
Right.
But we had no tanks. I think maybe had like a chiller. There was a boiler in a corner somewhere. Like there was just component parts in this warehouse. And I'm like, okay, so the purpose was to start this line. The purpose was to facilitate, New Frontier being able to send parts to this company. And I'm like, it's already somewhat's been started, right? So I could have either said like, well, I have no idea what any of this is, and it seems way too complicated and way too overwhelming. So I'm just gonna scratch this part of it and just take on New Frontier. That's not really how I do things. So I'm like, all right, let's figure out what this is.
Right.
So kind of pieced together the line, and it took probably, so Dave passed in March of 2019, and we were running parts by probably May of 2020.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Year to just get everything in place, and then I had to have all the inspections and the fire department and the boiler and all the inspections that go into it, and then obviously all of the just component pieces put together, and then figure out actually what all this was, get the chemicals in and start running some test parts. Luckily, we had a place next door that had some scraps, so we could just run their parts, try to dial everything in. And then, I don't know, we started running parts, and it started, it started going well. We started in the middle of COVID. So the fact that we were still able to operate and get parts in and kind of start a company in the middle of a pandemic COVID era. It was interesting.
But I'm not sure they teach you that in business school when to start a company at that particular time. But to think about it is that you had your career, your separate career in real estate, right? You had New Frontier running. You're trying to get this started up, and then, like you said, you're trying to. You've got your family to put together anything. How did you juggle all of that and keep it moving forward?
I had a nanny for the children.
Those will help. Yes.
That helps.
Right.
I don't know. I felt like I don't know, how do I say I juggled it? I just.
Right. Looks like you had no options. Really, you had to move forward with this.
It was either sink or swim. It's either I get out of bed and I figure this out every day, or this whole thing might collapse, which is exactly the opposite of what I want or what Dave would have wanted. So it was just, I don't know, it's kind of one of those things, you just jump in and you figure it out. And I also tend to really like to figure out things. So it could have just been like, all right, well, this is the companies and everybody kind of do this. But I really like to dive in to figure out as much as I can about it, which I think helped me,
Right.
I guess, throughout the process to actually learn the steps and whatever piece
Right.
and part. And kind of what you noted at the beginning of it, I know way more about firearms and anodizing than I ever thought I would know in my whole life.
Right.
And I learn
Right.
more every day. But yeah, and I mean, we kind of got to, well, I mean, through all of this, and met my husband now. And
Well, I was going to say, Mike, you're you know, like I said, a military gentleman getting ready to retire. Your experience in the finishing industry, I'm sure, probably wasn't that much at all either.
No, I never thought that I would be in this industry or working in a in a finishing line. I did 20
Right.
years in the military and 10 plus years in special operations,
Right.
and did a lot of training with firearms and stuff like that, but never once thought I'd be on the other side of the spectrum producing those type of parts, right? Or
Right.
finishing weapons parts.
Right.
It's been an interesting road, and until I met her, even after we got married, I never thought that this would be something that I would be immersed in. Just
Right.
kind of thought this was what Mama did, and
Right.
go my own way into some other ventures as I separated from the military. But we just kind of found that we are very like-minded. We enjoy. It's kind of weird, but we enjoy a problem set because we're both solution oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, I've really enjoyed taking it on and learning as much as possible. We cross paths. Um, it's just interesting. You never know what each day is going to present.
that's for sure.
Yeah,
Right. Yes.
you never know what
Yes.
each day is going to present, and it's been a fun challenge thus far.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be, like you spoke. I know you take walk-ins, you get people who show up and want some parts. It's one thing to anodize, but you've got you've got to figure out the part. Every part is different and unique, correct? I mean, downholes, how it's going to be, what type of metals it is. I mean, did that kind of surprise you as how difficult that is sometimes to figure out all the different moving parts, the variables,
Yeah,
I guess, that would go into anodizing a part or parts?
absolutely. A lot of people just bring parts in and say, "Oh, you just throw it in. You just throw it into a tank." I mean, you saw firsthand it's a extensive process, and just size of it, density of it, the aluminum material itself. People don't understand that you could have a 6061 or 7075 part, but they're like, oh, it's just aluminum. Well, no, in that aluminum, there's different variations, there's different components within those that create different finishes. And I'm not going to lie, when I first started, I said, oh, it's just a piece of aluminum, throw it in a tank, it comes out, whatever color you want it, and off it goes. But that's not, as we learn together, and I'm
Right.
still continuing to learn, that's not at all the case. And each job is unique, each part is unique, each run is unique. I just tanks might be temperamental this morning. You could have
Right.
your chiller or your tank temp is a little bit too high. You need to bring it down, and there's just different variables, and it really is an art and it's a science to producing high quality parts each and
Right.
every time.
Right.
And that's why when we cross paths kind of with Chemion, and I'm sure
Right.
you want to dive into this later, but it doesn't matter if you're a day one learning just the very basics, or you've been in the industry for decades. A class like that, I mean, is invaluable because it's constantly evolving. You're always learning. The industry is changing, and if you're not keeping up, then you're not competitive.
Right. I
And
don't know
then
if
you're not creating quality, and
right.
you're not continuing to create quality products. And
Right.
and even with waste treatment and those processes, they've evolved since the
Right.
very
Yeah.
beginning to where we are now, from a closed loop system where we're an environmentally friendly company.
I think sometimes too, people hear, at least like I said, I haven't been doing this for years, but in the last 3 years, even like in with the city inspections and stuff, people hear plating and they think metal finishing, and
Right.
they think like you're making scary fumes and chemicals, and you're just
Right.
like you're
Right.
the big bad people that the EPA needs to come check on. I'm like, no, we
Right.
don't. And little bit of cake and that gets hauled off, and everything else we treat. And it's like we have a clean line. There's no fumes in our lines. We have these air ducts, and like it's a very nice, clean building to be able to do this process that everybody thinks is like this scary chemical process. But,
Yeah.
But like he was saying, I mean, we learn. I'm actually going to go take the Kimion class on the next class because I sent him and our lead anodizer, and they came back and immediately started changing, tweaking some processes, and had faster run times on some stuff, and have had different quality outcomes for the better. So, I mean, they just from what they learned, and our lead anodizer has been doing this for a while, but for him to come back and learn something, and then Mike, who's brand new to anodizing, to learn something, I think I'm going to go when they do their next class and bring my production manager, and him and I will go to learn some things too. But and the Kimion folks have been really helpful. Like even after we left, and been able to reach out and ask a few questions, and it was definitely worth sending you guys up there.
Right. Well, the scariest thing, Mike, was we were